great shot. Alright, so the morning is here. It is Thursday, and we have a
Friday.
No, it's not right. Don't do that, man. Shut off the headlights. This factory radio has factory Sirius XM that she uses. It has a factory backup camera. It has the OnStar. It has all the steering wheel controls. And these are all features she wants to keep. For this car, we're gonna use an RP5 GM31. What this is gonna allow us to do is interface with the car and retain all the accessories we're interested in retaining. So when retaining the factory Sirius XM, the antenna and tuner are actually located in the trunk. Right there you'll see that yellow connector, which is that guy right there. So you will need an extension. So to lengthen the antenna, we get this piece here. It's a 20-foot extension for the Sirius XM antenna. What else do we have? So, the checklist: steering wheel controls, CarPlay, backup camera, Sirius XM. Okay, let's try Sirius XM. Now, because it's inside, all we should get is an antenna warning. As long as we get an antenna connection.
Channel not available.
Not available.
Yeah, that's fine.
Channel not available. Alright, so we know it works because at least it's reading it and it can't see the sky. So it's going to get caught in perpetual craziness. So we'll go ahead and X out of that. Alright, we can finish putting the car back together now. That's it, on to the next one. So when you stock a ton of harnesses like you see behind my shoulder here, or behind Fernando's shoulder there,
Right here.
Yeah, I see them. Every now and then they become out of date because someone forgets to do rotate on stock and stuff like that. So when you have downtime, which doesn't happen all that often, it's nice to go through your inventory and reflash the units. So for PAC, if you're on the PAC website, right here it says firmware update. You can go in and tell it what type of module you have, and it will give you the most recent firmware. So for right now, we're working on a bunch of Radio Pro 5s. You can come over here, we're working on the GM31, and it tells us here the latest firmware is 1.16, updated back in March. So on the bottom of the box, it tells you here the latest firmware. This is 1.14, so this one has been sitting on the shelf for a while, so we're getting it up to date. Now, updating the firmware isn't always crucial because sometimes it doesn't update features that you may need for your install. So for example, the update we're doing basically fixes the ability to do aftermarket mode for the steering wheel controls. So if you're retaining OnStar, you wouldn't need this if you're going to work them through the factory steering wheel controls. But if you wanted to just work your aftermarket radio through the steering wheel controls, then you'd need this update. So depending on what you're doing, updates aren't always necessary, but if something's not working the way it's supposed to, you definitely want to check. Hello everyone. Alright, so what do we got going on here today? Fernando is making a fuse holder. We have an Audi that just came in. And what we're doing is he had an existing fuse holder. He was in an accident and it broke his fuse holder mount. He is a fan of ours from Orlando. Used to live on the other coast, so he made the drive up here. Where are we going? And so Fernando's making him a fuse holder.
Thank you, sir.
Put the safety first, people. So over here at the engine compartment, so this is his existing fuse holder. Ring terminal. So this was mounted over here like this. So what we're going to do is we're of course going to pull all this stuff out. He's got it wrapped around the back side here. We like to come this way with it. A little bit shorter run. we're gonna mount the fuse holder right here. We spent some time trying to come up with this guy over here. We spent some time coming up with different ideas, and at the end of the day, that bolt right there was the winner. So all we really have to make is a basic L shape. Pull the bolt, it's going to come up, the fuse holder is going to sit right here. That way it's going to be the shortest run between here and here. Also, it's going to stay out of the way of all these things. You know, you have your body control module here, fuse, this liquid. There's more liquid over here, so we want to get that wire away from there and have it just come this way. Basically, we're going to drill a hole here so we can get to that bolt. So then the fuse holder will just simply mount to the side, just like that.
Yes, exactly.
He's managed to pull the wire back around to the right side. Yeah. So we gone ahead and added the loom.
You can actually push the wire back.
Yeah. I just wanted to get this cut.
It looks awesome.
All right, tag, you're it. All right, so there we go. That's that. So we had a question the other day. Guy asked how come we've done a couple amp installs where we didn't use zip ties and all that fun stuff. You know, we still taped it, loomed it, and all that other, but we didn't use zip ties. And they're like, well, why aren't you using zip ties? Yeah, it was a situational thing. They had said that the customer asked for that, and we were like, you know, no, it's just the way that particular install went down, or those particular installs happened to be like 2 in a row, where it just didn't work out to where we needed to make things that required all that. But have no fear, that is the way we do almost all our installs, probably 98% of them, with no exception for what I'm going to show you right now. All right, so what we have here is the Prime 1200. It's going to power the 2 P3 factory box. Seems to be the flavor of the week is that box. So what we've done is we did the, just like we did the other day, if you saw the last vlog where we put the 2 10-gauge wires together in the Chinese finger torture, we did the same thing here because it is a ton of power. All right, so we just got in this Lexus. Not all of these have premium sound systems, so we're doing another high level. Of course, we want to check and see. And
yeah, it's right here.
You just checked? Mm-hmm. All right, so this one does have a subwoofer. So remember, anytime you're doing a high level, always check, put your ear to the speaker, and make sure it's putting out the sound that you're trying to recreate in another device. Also, what's with all this water? I mean, dude, you know, is it that hot here in Florida where you're afraid you're gonna run out of water?
More people, man, they have to have water.
So one of the really cool things about this Lexus is the fact that it has the factory amplifier located here in the trunk, so it makes getting to the subwires fairly easy. Now, as you can see, it has a bunch of plugs on it. Figuring out which speaker is which is where a tone generator really comes in handy. Now with the tone generator, we can go ahead and tone the speakers to see which ones are the subwoofer. In this case, these bottom 4 right here are the subwoofers. The other nice thing about this Lexus is it's a Toyota, which means this is a standard 1761 harness that they've been using forever. So they have a male and female version of this harness. So if you don't want to, you don't actually have to tie into this. And what we've gone ahead and done is we've made a T-harness. So we have one side here, one side here. This side's going to plug into the amplifier and give us our signal out to our high level for our subwoofer. And this is going to plug in and allow all the other speakers to pass through. So plug that in there, plug that in, and now what you've done is you've gone ahead and made a T-harness. So if you ever need to put it back to factory, it's real simple to do. Now, not all factory amplifiers will give you the luxury of doing this, but some of them do, and when they do, it makes life real easy. So sometimes your fuse holder mount can be something as simple as just adding a piece of plastic to the factory battery mount and adding a second bolt. It's clean and it's simple. Alright, so that one's done. Another long day.
Yeah.
And we're out of here to start again fresh tomorrow. Come on, let's get out of here. Let's go. Well, good morning everyone. It's a beautiful Friday morning and we have our first car in today. Gee, can you guess what it is? What do we have, Fernando?
We have a Jeep.
Nuh-uh. That's right, another Jeep. It seems to be the 5-star special is F-150s and Jeep. All right, so we got a bunch of stuff going into this Jeep. We have a Alpine PDX V9, 2 sets of the new R-Type components. We have the EchoMaster Jeep backup camera, as well as we're gonna use the iDataLink Maestro. So we got a bunch of fun stuff. We're also gonna retain the factory USB. He's gonna do a Kenwood DMX 7704 radio to control it. I have to go over and flash that right now. Fernando's going to go ahead and start on the speakers. Now, you guys have seen a ton of our Jeeps. We've filmed a ton of videos on these, so we know you guys know what we do when we do in a Jeep. So we're going to do something different today as far as footage. We got a GoPro right here. We got a GoPro inside. So we're gonna film a cool time lapse, and then of course we'll sprinkle it with a bunch of little pieces like building the amp rack and fun. Well, you'll just have to wait and see. So I'm gonna head over and flash the module right now. Fernando, have fun. All right, so for those of you that have never done the flashing of the Maestro, you go to the web page using Internet Explorer. You're gonna answer a bunch of questions. It does help that if you're like us, where our installation bay is further away than the computer, that you take pictures of the radio and the steering wheel so that you have them. Sometimes those are necessary for what we're trying to do here. All right, so this has, the radio is RES, it's definitely that one. All right, so it's done. Let's take it back to the car. So in case you're not a Jeep owner, one of the cool things about a Jeep is the fact that there's 4 components all the way around. So check this out. They have a set of mid-range here and a set of tweeters that go here. So it's not a tweeter, it's this little guy right here. So you make one of these cool little pieces here that's going to screw up into there, and that allows you to put a tweeter in it. Now the only downside to it is that there's really no room for a big crossover network inside. It won't fit. So if you're gonna do something like this, you might wanna look at something like an Alpine speaker, some of the new Pioneer speakers, or the Rockford Punch series speakers where the crossovers are all built into the mid-range, and or the tweeters have just small little crossovers. Now if you do wanna get a really high-end set and you have to, you need to put a box, you're gonna have to take the soundbar out and rewire it. In this case, we're doing the R-types, we don't have to do that. So once you get the speakers mounted, you have a nice set of components in your Jeep. All right, guys, so it is Friday. All right, so here's what we got. We have the PDX V9 is going underneath the passenger seat. And of course, we just got done making this. This is a 1/4-inch piece of ABS, all one piece. We routed down the front and back so that the seat will remain as flush as possible. We're going to use the seat rails to hold it in place. Really the only modification you have to do is underneath the seats, right over here. This is where the airbag harness mounts, what isn't mounted yet, but you have to flip this. It unscrews and you flip it, and then you can put the harness up on top when you're done, and pretty much any amp will fit there. This is getting a 110 Comp RT and a downfiring box. It's getting this guy right here. So what we do is we add a piece of 1-inch ABS or Sentra to it to lift this up another 1 inch, also so that it will stay dry, even though this is Rhino line and probably will never warp. We just add more height to it. Plus that's going to give this a better sound since it's sitting really low. So, and this is, I think, what is this? This is a Q-bomb. Yeah, it's a Q-bomb. Another interesting thing on the Jeeps, trying to retain the factory USB in these and you're trying to do Android Auto, the factory USBs, just in case you guys didn't know, is located right here, and the module for the factory USB is typically right here. This is the actual factory USB plug. So we will be plugging in a USB GM1 from Pack Audio, which is located on the end of this guy right here. It's got the end for the factory USB. Make sure you put heat shrink over this so it doesn't rattle off. We strongly recommend doing is picking up a USB DM1. It's this guy right here. It's a little, what I call the USB nickel. It'll fit right in the cigarette lighter. If you pop out the cigarette lighter, put a little bit of shrink wrap on the back, actually about 4 layers of shrink wrap and then 1 giant layer of shrink wrap. You could also just glue it in place and the door will still close. Use this for Android Auto. Don't use the factory one. Another thing we're doing on this for all you Jeep guys, this is that Echo Master camera right here. What we do is we add in the cool Chinese finger torture stuff and add it to the existing braiding. We do put some zip ties on it just to keep it from pinching so it all stays up and nice. And of course it's going to go all the way up to the front, and the rest of it is just covered in regular loom like this. Alright, so we have the Fernando's Fancy Fuse holder in, and I'll zip tie it up. So for this Jeep, because we're going with the 7704, it doesn't have a CD player, so we can't put the test disc in there. So what we're doing is we're playing our Speaker Pop app from the phone into the aux cable, and then we're using our handheld to test the speakers. So we have positive. Let's do this one again. Now remember, when you're using this app, all it does is do positive. Let's check the rears. Alright, we're good. Alright, we're all done. The amp is almost mounted. It will get mounted as soon as the seat goes in. Other than that, it is all wired up, zip tied, secured. The yellow thing there is the airbag. That's going to get clipped into the seat once we put it down. Alright, so the radio's in. We used the metric kit. We also added the USB to the cigarette lighter. And of course, with the metric kit, you get that nice beveled look. And of course, we do a little extra work so you get those nice clean lines. Alright, so the Jeep is done and it sounds great. The PDX V9 is an awesome amplifier. It is one of my favorites. What about you?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so it's one of our favorite amplifiers for sure. If you're unfamiliar with it and you're looking for a 5-channel, you definitely might want to check it out. Alright, so it's Saturday morning. It's super early. I'm taking you guys to Cars and Coffee. You're gonna like this. Let's go. coffee's put on by these guys over here. What the hell is that? So after some cars and coffee, we actually are going for coffee at this place here. They sell these cool little cars, and they also sell those cars. I know, right? Why not? They give free bagels, and they're good. I think I might be able to afford this one, but it's still probably a stretch. Damn, that's cute. Well, that was fun. Now it's time to start the day. Let's get going. Alright, so the first car on the books, we have a Toyota Tacoma. We're doing a radio swap for a new Pioneer. So the other day we had someone ask us, they were installing a backup camera and they had lines, fuzzy lines on the camera, and I had mentioned put an Echo Master in last week, had noise when running, had point. If you have an Echo Master that has noise, there is a solution for that on the camera, and I had mentioned a noise filter for it. That's this guy right here. This is the CSS-12 from Pack Audio. This is designed to fix that issue. Alright, first car's done. Let's get on to the next one. Alright, so now we got a nice Nissan Altima. This is an Altima, right?
Sir, SR.
Alright, so we're going to go underneath the seat with the amplifier.
Yes, sir.
So we'll make a cool plate for that. He had this installed, it's a 9903, right?
Yeah.
And so we're going to pull it out. We need to just check the wiring. He asked us to check. There's a few things it's doing. He wants us to check that out. And we're going to install a Rockford P212 in a sealed box. He likes dry bass, like more of a thump sound as opposed to a fat boomy sound. So he went ahead and went with a sealed enclosure as opposed to a ported enclosure. Ported enclosure would have given more boom. He doesn't want that. Alright, so now that we have the radio out of the dash, it's kind of like an archaeologist dig to figure out what the installation was done like. So this is, alright, so we've talked about before Nissans needing a ground. A lot of people, when they like to just do this, when they're screwing the radio on, they'll put a ground into this, and so when you pull the radio out, it loses the ground. So that means when you're trying to test things and stuff like that, you can't. So you always want to make sure you ground it to a piece of metal that doesn't rely on the radio being in the dash. Now it's just figuring out what's going on in here. Yeah. So another complaint he had was that his, these new radios have the ability to turn on the camera when you're not in reverse so that you can see behind you. And of course it's not doing that. So they have the right 6-volt converter in here that's allowing it to go and turn on the camera. But then they don't have it hooked up to accessories so that he has that feature that he would really like. So we're gonna go ahead and change that around so he has the feature that he needs. I mean, other than that, the harness is put together right. Like all the wires are where they're supposed to be. They're all insulated. So I mean, from that perspective, it's fine. We're just gonna change around the things that we need to and go from there, I guess. Okay, so we have the harness out. I think we're just gonna redo it. At this point, it'd probably just be easier. We'll just go ahead and make it look pretty. Take a look at what's going on. So he's getting a prime 501. We're just finishing up the wiring here. So what we've built is what you guys have seen before. This is going to be the T for the seat. So the rear seat bolts, rears, right?
Yeah.
Rear seat bolts are going to go here.
No, I'm sorry. That's yes.
This is the front or rear? Come on, man.
Rear.
Which
Sorry.
one is it?
My
Rears?
bad, my bad. Yes,
okay, I was going to say, it seems like this would be the rear. So this will be the rear seat bolts holding it in place.
Yeah.
So yeah, running a 12 gauge to the back.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, we'll check back in once you get it in the car. Let's go over here and check out my progress. Just finished soldering up the harness. Gonna put the shrink wrap over it, and then we'll take it in the car and make sure all the features that he was missing, he's got now. All right, so the harness is all prettied up. We'll just call it that. Matches the factory. This is the factory harness, and here you can see the tape. Our tape matches the same. We'll go ahead and plug this back in. We'll do our ground. And we'll make sure that all the stuff is supposed to do what it's supposed to do. All right, so lights, we have lights, and we have camera. So we're good. Those were two of his main concerns. So we got that straightened out. Let's make sure his buttons still work. They still work, so that's good there. All right, so Fernando is getting all the wires run underneath the seat. Unfortunately, the brake pedal hides the perfect place, as we said before, in these Nissans to put our grommet. So it's a pain in the butt, but it's a really good spot.
Yep, it is.
Alright, so we have the fuse holder in and mounted. The amp is in and done. It is bolted up underneath the seat. Let's go ahead and take a listen. So we just got this Kia in. Yes, it's a Kia, not a Hyundai like I called that last car. And check this out. Fernando, can you hold that for a second? Mm-hmm. Thanks, buddy. When hooking up to your battery terminal, if you notice right here, this is a fuse, okay? He's hooked up to the other side of that fuse, which means if this blows for whatever reason, this car's not running anymore. So if you're hooking up your battery power, always make sure that you're hooked up to the terminal, the battery terminal. This would be fine, this would be fine. This, not fine. Okay, so we've got the car all stripped out. Everything is out of the way. Everything we needed to get out, all the stuff that was up in here is all fixed. He had a high-low and a bass knob. We've gone ahead and pulled that out, put a pack one in there, tidied it all up, made the wires pretty. Fernando's over here finishing up the amplifier, or starting the amplifier I should say. It's going to mount up underneath the seat. There again, we've talked about this before. The Sintra is really nice because you can heat it up. As you can see, all these bends in it. This is matching what the carpet and the factory look is going to be, and then that's attached to the harder ABS. Doesn't have to attach. You could still use Sintra here. Most of the time, this is just convenient. Oh, you are done. Oh, look at that. Almost done? You got to put the RCA in.
RCA and
some zip ties.
some zip ties.
Yeah, don't forget the zip ties.
Yes, sir.
Alright, so I'm going to start on making the fuse holder for up here, and we'll get this thing going. Okay, so we went ahead and mounted our power wire where it needed to go. We have our fuse holder mounted. Wires all loomed up. We're done up underneath the hood. That still closes. Amp is mounted. Let's take a listen. So next up on the docket is a Ford Mustang. So for this Ford, we're gonna go ahead and do the iData Link kit. We're gonna make it, these three buttons here in the center, in case you didn't know, you get to choose those. So we're gonna make it fan up and down, and of course just gauges. Climate and rear defroster are already pre-programmed, but you have a bag of things to choose from, and of course a couple blank ones so that you can make them whatever you want. It also comes with a pocket, and inside the pocket are two USBs. So if you're doing a head unit that has dual USB, you have access to both USBs. We're gonna go over and flash the module. I don't even know what kind of radio we're putting in yet. Whenever you go to test fit the kit, just remove all these silly clips, because you just need it to just go into place. You don't necessarily need it to lock in. So these clearly fit like crap anyways, so you don't want to lose them before you're done. So if you want to drive an installer crazy, use the words, "Hey, could you install a radio real quick? It's just a head unit swap," while you're in the middle of doing something else. And then of course you pull around a car to find out that there's 2 amps, the RCAs are too short in the dash, the plug's cut, you gotta run in a Bluetooth mic, there's no cage, no trim ring, the dash kit's broken, and it's towards the end of the day. And of course they brought the radio in. Oh well.
I don't want to play anymore.
Back to the Mustang. So one of the things about the iData Link Maestro is that everything has to plug in a specific order. And in a Mustang, it's even, or in a Ford in general, it's even more fun, which we'll show you in a minute, but everything has to be plugged in, and then you plug in the brain. Okay, so we're all plugged in. Do you have the keys? Oh, go ahead, I'll take this. Go ahead and turn the key on. Yeah, what color is this? Blue? Yeah, that looks good. Okay, we'll go back. View angle. Definitely want to go like that. Click here. Go down and we'll select finish. Platform selection starts. Mustang, it's going to give you the VIN. Turn key to off position. Just don't take it out, just turn it off. So what it's doing is it's learning the car. So it's gonna, all Fords have to do is you gotta turn it off, turn it on, well, you'll see in a second. Be patient.
You know, like a
turn
Mario?
key to AC position. Turn it back on. Turn key to off position.
You're like a Mario Bros.
Yes, you're getting the coins in Mario Brothers. Turn key to accessory position. Maestro setup complete. Maestro. What am I saying? Maestro?
Maestro.
Okay, so now we can go in here. We can go to OEM features. We can see gauges. Yep, and then we can go back. Really what we're interested in this car is the climate controls. We want to turn on the AC, turn up the speed, turn down the temperature, turn up the temperature. Make sure all the buttons do what they're supposed to do. And then we have vehicle information, so this should show tire pressure. Okay, so that's all doing what it's supposed to do. So now that we have that portion of it done, we can go ahead and see if the actual radio works. Alright, we got radio. Go see what you got there. Alright, we got volume on the steering wheel controls. Track, yep, we got that. That one, yeah, that should be source. Alright. This particular car did not have sync. If it was to have had sync, there'd be steering wheel controls that for the phone. And those wires are tapped up underneath here. It's a real challenge, we'll say. A lot of people have troubles with it. This one luckily doesn't have it, so now all we have to do is just get this back in the dash. We have the 5 buttons up here. We have climate control. If you press that, it'll take you to climate. You have fan up and down, so this will make the fan faster, slower. So this one here will take you to gauges. And then this is the rear defroster. And of course you retain, this is, we'll go back here, this is your radio station up here. So you get to, this screen up here is giving you that cool information.
Temperature.
So there you go, there's the Maestro. If you guys want to actually see a whole install video on this, we do have one, go figure. Alright guys, that's it. We'll see you next week.
Bye! Never mind, we have another car.